What up, everybody? Grom-trooper here, and today we've got a bit more somber a topic than normal, but a important topic nonetheless. And today I want to talk about mental health. So yeah, let's dive into it. So I know mental health isn't something that a lot of people like to talk about or even know how to breach the conversations with and begin talking about. So let me I guess start off by saying that, you know, I'm not a professional in the medical field. These are all my opinions and based upon my personal experiences, but I don't feel like that invalidates them as far as the things that I'm going to say. And hopefully you could hear me over that sport bike revving, because holy fuck, that was loud. So, to give you some background myself, I, both as a person, have struggled with mental well-being and depression, and things of that nature that go along with it myself, for quite a few years now, and I've gained a lot of experience from that, and I think that's given me some insights into the information I'm going to share with you. And I've also, recently lost a couple of friends to the battle with mental health and suicide. So I've been on the outside looking in as far as that goes as well. So that's where my insights come when I speak about that sort of thing. So I don't think that I'm just over here and I read a couple of BuzzFeed articles about depression, and I'm going to sit here and talk to you about it. And really, that's not the case at all, right? But I want you to know that the information I'm sharing with you comes from both a real life experience place on my part and a very personal part of me. I don't talk about my life outside of motorcycles or the shop much on the channel, and I think it's really important that this is something that is talked about. So yeah, we're gonna do it. Now I know there's a couple of different subsets of topics of conversation when it comes to mental health, and what I'm going to talk about is really broad strokes level stuff. If you want to get more into the topic of men's mental health in particular, Bry the Biker has a video about it, and I think is going to have some more videos about it from the tone of things that he's talked about. And he recommended a channel I'd not heard of called, is it $1 Million Bogan? I'm not positive. I'll put links to both their channels down in the description. But $1 Million Bogan, I believe, deals directly with men's mental health issues. So if you're interested in that, as a follow-up to this video, please go check out some of their content. Again, I haven't reviewed any of it personally, but I trust Bry's recommendation on that part. He's a really cool dude, and if you haven't checked out his channel, please go do so. But I sort of want to talk on a couple of things here, and you'll have to forgive me for being choked up. One of the reasons that we're having this conversation is that I'm going through some stuff right now, and I needed a mental health break, so I'm out here on the bike. And that sort of segues me into my first real sort of topic of conversation. which is if you're dealing with, you know, high stress environments. I work a very high stress job, you know, probably not as high stress as others because it's still a corporate office job, but it's very fast paced, and you know, stuff comes out of left field all the time, and it's stressful. And if you're dealing with that, or, you know, clinical or seasonal depression, then geez, can't even think to speak right now. If you're dealing with either of those things, it's good to have healthy coping mechanisms, and I want to emphasize the word healthy. And in my experience, there's a couple of things that encompass a healthy coping mechanism. And I'm just going to apologize in advance, guys, because I can't speak very well right now, so you'll just have to bear with me for this video. Not that I can really speak English well in any of my videos. If you've watched my channel at all, you know that sometimes the words elude me. But healthy coping mechanisms are important. And there are a couple of factors, and I'm sure there's more from like an actual scientific standpoint, but there's a couple of factors that to me encompass a healthy coping mechanism. One, it's not anything that is physically detrimental to you or exceptionally dangerous. You know, yes, riding a motorcycle is dangerous, but like, I'm not out here, you know, jumping over buses every time I'm having a rough day to clear my head. I'm just going out for a ride. So, you know, it has to be something that's good for your physical well-being, or at minimum neutral for your physical well-being, right? Like, I'm sure there's some people that'll argue there's physical benefits to, you know, riding a motorcycle, or, you know, watching a movie or whatever it is, right? But I think the sliding scale has to be either it's not physically detrimental or it's good for you. Like, that's your spectrum of things that can be coping mechanisms. Things that are not physically good for you cannot be healthy coping mechanisms, I believe, by definition. The second thing is it has to be something that's easily accessible to you. And there's a couple reasons for that, and I'll go over those. But first and foremost, like, if you're having a bad day, like, a lot of the time the last thing you're going to want to do is, you know, go drive somewhere and, you know, put in a bunch of effort to feel better. Like, you need something that's going to help you then and there, which is why, you know, my motorcycles live at the house and not at my shop. Is sometimes I just need to go for a ride. And having that accessibility of being able to pick up a key, walk out the door, lock the door, get on my bike, and go is a huge benefit, because there's minimal effort involved. You know, still got to put on my gear and make sure I have appropriate, you know, footwear on and stuff like that. But like, there's not a ton of effort that goes into me getting on the bike and clearing my head. And having it be something that's readily accessible, you know, means that when the time comes to use that coping mechanism, you're going to build the habit of using that coping mechanism. Because if it's something, even if it's something that works really well for you, if you got to put in a lot of effort to get to it, there will be times where you should be using that coping mechanism, but you're not, because of the amount of effort that's involved. So, you know, one, it's got to be good for you. Two, it has to be readily accessible to you, right? And three, and probably most importantly, it has to be something that puts you in the appropriate mindset to relax, look at things objectively, and process your thoughts and feelings. And it's really funny because by all, you know, stretches of the imagination, motorcycling should not be this for anyone. But, you know, there's sloths of bikers out there that will tell you that nothing's better for their mental health than going for a ride, right? Like, it clears their head, they're able to process stuff. And personally, and I'm sure there's been research done around this, and I don't know any of it, because again, I'm not a scientist, nor am I an expert in this field, but I think the technical part of your brain is so focused on keeping this vehicle upright and keeping it moving in the right direction and not hitting anything, etc., that the emotional part of your brain can actually, you know, work through stuff without, I guess, the technical side of things getting in the way. That's just my personal opinion. That may be total fucking malarkey. I have no idea. But I always find that problem solving for technical issues happens for me less on a motorcycle, but processing and appropriately compartmentalizing, Jesus Christ, I can't speak, emotional issues definitely works out on the bike. So that's something that, from my personal experience, it's very, very good for. And it's really important that you have healthy coping mechanisms, because if not, you can incredibly rapidly, oh my god, sorry, it's just halfway between too hot and too cold out here. If you don't have good coping mechanisms, you could rapidly put yourself in a situation where you're becoming dependent on unhealthy coping mechanisms. And let me tell you guys, from personal experience, all that does is multiply your problems. Like, you feel better in the short term, you feel like things are turned around and that you've got a grip on things, and that moment where you feel like, you know, things are going your way and you've totally got everything under control, yeah, that's the precipice before the fall. So don't go down that road, and work on getting yourself some healthy coping mechanisms. And you know, personally, I might be a bit biased, but I think motorcycling is one of the best coping mechanisms. Not even just riding, like wrenching on bikes and like understanding intimately the parts of your machine and how it operates. The book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance really delves into that a lot. Like, there's an intricate relationship. Even if you get the majority of your maintenance done by a dealer, you will develop a relationship with your bike. And having that intimacy and that relationship with your motorcycle and understanding of it, even if it's just how it performs on the road, what the limits are of how you can operate it, all of those things are wonderful for when it comes time to either distract or ground yourself as an individual. So there's billions of healthy coping mechanisms out there. It just so happens that motorcycling and wrenching are two of my major ones. So anytime I'm having a rough time, my first instinct is to go kick up the kickstand and go for a ride. But it's not for everyone. Now, for me, those are the things that make for healthy coping mechanisms. And I'm sorry, that, like I said, I'm a little scatterbrained right now as far as my thought process. It's not necessarily going to be the most succinct video, and I don't even think I'm going to edit it to be, because I think it's important for you guys to hear, how riding can help you clarify your thoughts and your emotions. Because I guarantee you, by the time I end this video, probably already now, I'm speaking more eloquently and more succinctly than I was when I started. And that's as a result of just being on the bike. Like, I don't have a destination. I'm just going to ride a giant loop and see where I end up. So, we've now, I think, thoroughly beaten coping mechanisms into the ground. Now, the next topic is a little harder for me to touch on. And I think it's as important, if not more important, than developing healthy coping mechanisms, however. And that is when those coping mechanisms fail you, if nothing that you're doing seems to be helping your mental state, and you feel yourself spiraling. That's the worst part about, and I believe it's just referred to as spiraling too. You can feel yourself becoming more and more logical, but you can't convince your brain otherwise. So you know that your thought process is running off the rails, and it's not necessarily tied in with reality, and yet it's 100% what deep down your brain believes. So when you feel that happening and your coping mechanisms are not helping, you have to have a network to reach out to. This is something that is absolutely critical, and I can't emphasize it enough. It doesn't have to be friends or family. Like, I highly recommend that. I have a few very close friends, like Brian and my wife, that I'll talk to, and I've got a few other friends as well. And they're the people that I'll talk to when I feel myself getting into that state, and try to help me get back onto a logical path grounded in reality. But that doesn't have to be that way for everyone. There are hundreds upon hundreds of resources out there for mental health, well-being, and stability that you can reach out to. And I think that it's important that if you don't have that network of friends or family that you feel comfortable talking to, or that you trust, or whatever it is, that you familiarize yourself with both the resources in your area and with the national level resources available. And I'm not going to try and cover all of those here. I think that it's important for every person to research them on their own and find what works best for them, and be it a sticky note on their refrigerator or their computer, to have those resources available for themselves. But be it an outside program or a network of friends or family members, if you feel yourself going beyond your own control, you have to reach out. And I don't say that to sound preachy. I don't say that to sound like a know-it-all, because I know that it's the logical thing, right? But in the moment, you have to have conditioned yourself for that to be the logical thing, because it's not going to feel like the thing you should do. It's going to feel like the opposite of what you should do. But I'm here to tell you that no matter who you are in this world, there are people who care about you and will be affected by what happens to you. And I see it, and I have seen it personally so many times where, somebody feels like they're a burden, or like, nobody wants them around, and they get into their own heads, and I can guarantee you that it's never the case. There is always somebody who will be hurt if anything happens to you, and that's not to put their feelings above your own, but it's to make you realize that you're valued very often much more than your thoughts and emotions would have you think. And that's something that's incredibly important for every single person who watches this video. I need you to realize that, right? Like, if you need to talk to somebody, like, do it, and forgo the consequences, right? Like, it's much better to reach out and have an awkward conversation with somebody than to, get that depressing phone call from your friends or your friend's family. And I know there are people in my life who have really really struggled in the wake of suicide, and like I said, I've lost multiple friends that way, and every time I can't wrap my head around it, because I think to myself, why didn't they talk to somebody? Why didn't they talk to me, right? Like, I'm a giant asshole, but deep down, when it comes to being there for my friends, I pride myself on being a good friend and being honest with them. And I don't know. It's, to this day, it's clearly not something that I can parse fully, and will definitely affect me for the rest of my life. But yeah, if there's two things you walk away from this video with, and I think I'm just going to end it here, because, you know, I've rambled a lot, and I don't want the message to get muddied or to lose its potency because of my emotional state. But if you're struggling with anxiety, stress, depression, body dysmorphia, whatever, please work to find healthy coping mechanisms for yourself. And if you can't do it on your own, seek help with it. There's all sorts of resources out there. And two, if your coping mechanisms fail you, reach out, and don't just reach out to one person, right? If I reached out to Brian and Brian didn't get back to me, and I was in a bad place, I'd be pinging 4 other people within like 2-3 minutes of that. And it's important to have a strong network or multiple resources, because it, you know, inevitably in the heat of the moment, one may fail you, or you might forget one, and that's okay. But have that safety net and that network built out for yourself, because there are people out there who care, and there are people out there who will miss you. And I guess that's our message for today, guys.